It's not a matter of if you hit a plateau, it's just a matter of when.
What's the fastest way to lose belly fat?
The best question.
What does the literature say about heavy lifting and getting a toned body?
Here's the funny thing about, because the biggest misconception is like, hey,
Welcome back to the Newbie Gains podcast. I'm with a very special guest. I am joined with Harry, a fitness coach with an incredible journey. He started his career in the military. He discovered his passion for fitness and worked his way up to the coaching at the highest level. Now, him and his wife run their own company where they coach top athletes, including Olympians, and now they focus on educating clients to make lasting transformations. I'm excited to dive in his story and provide our viewers as much insight as humanly possible. So, Harry, first up, what got you into heavy lifting and a science-backed fitness training approach?
yeah, good question. So what got me into fitness is what got every young male into fitness, to started hitting the gym and wanted to get bigger muscles. But I don't know if you can tell I'm a little bit of a nerd. Not being able to grow a beard kind of gives it away. And then what I would do instead, this was like when I was in school, what I would do instead of doing my schoolwork, because schoolwork came a little bit easier for me, is I would just read exercise science studies off the public medicine database. And then that's what and then I'd just rock up to like tested exams, get a B, I'd be happy with that. So what got me passionate about exercise science is just the predictability, you know? It's like, how do we know anything in life works? Through science. We look at the science. And the funny thing is I have a lot of conversations with people in the industry as well. The people who are like very anti-science, and they're like, you just got to do what the greats did, what's been working for years, what the classics did, the chicken and rice and, and chicken and rice and lifting heavy and doing all this kind of stuff. And it's funny because you're like, okay, how do you know that works? And it's like, okay, it worked for them and it works for these people. And I was like, hey, that's kind of science, that's exactly what science is. You're just testing things out. If it works, you kind of get an outcome. That's exactly what science is. So science is just predictable. And that's why I guess it's so important.
And for those people that find science-based education when it comes to fitness kind of intimidating, or even like going to the gym intimidating, what advice do you have for someone like that?
If going to the gym, this is the big thing that we cover with, some of our newer clients is just, you need to have a protocol. You need to go into the gym knowing what you're doing. It's really intimidating when you walk into the gym and you just look around like, what is going on? Like, what am I doing? I'm scared. There's people looking at me. And then you just turn around and leave. No one wins. But if you go into the gym with a plan and you'll get this. If you have a protocol, you can just look down at your phone and be like, this is what I'm doing. And you've got a plan. And that's the hardest part. That first step, because once you're in, you've got your headphones in, you're in your own little flow, you just walk into the gym, you do your thing. If you know what you're doing in the gym, it kind of removes a lot of that friction, especially getting in. Science-based, in terms of like, if they find science-based intimidating, like we said, the science is just predictability. It's like, how do you know what you're doing is right? Well, we kind of need to look at the science and see some fundamental truth. Because all science is, if science is intimidating, all science is you're just testing a whole bunch of different stuff. And we've done it for the last 100 years. Testing a whole bunch of different stuff and finding out what works, and then you just do more of what works. So it should kind of be the opposite. Science will make things less intimidating because you know what you're doing is actually working.
Back in the early 2000s or the late 90s, as I was like still a child, I remember seeing my brothers like get gym magazines, and I didn't really understand it because I was so young. And then the late 2000s, I was like learning about gym and all that, and all the girls at school were like anti-gym. They were like more into sports. Even though we had like a bench press or like a squat rack in the PE area, I know a lot of guys like flourish in that area, and a lot of the women, my girlfriends, they were telling me, "Oh my God, I want to get big and bulky." So for those people, how does heavy lifting? What does the literature say about heavy lifting and getting a toned body?
This is the funniest question. I have this conversation a lot actually. Here's the funny thing about, because the biggest misconception is like, hey, I don't want to lift heavy because I'll get too big. I'm gonna get too muscly. I'm gonna accidentally look like Arnold. It's like I've been trying to get too big the whole time I've been training, and I'm not too big yet. It's like it's very, especially for a female, without you know, performance enhancing drugs, it's impossible. The people that a lot of female lifters are scared to look like, you physically cannot look like that unless you're, well, taking steroids. You know, you just don't have the hormonal capacity. You don't have enough testosterone to build that much lean muscle. You know, lifting heavy will grow. Lifting heavy is the difference between like where you are now and kind of that toned body that you've been looking for, the nice toned legs, the small waist, you know, the round glutes. It's like that is just a little bit more muscle than what you have. Maybe a little more definition too, but all that is a little bit more muscle. And the only way to do that is through heavy lifting. It's like
Mm.
Pilates, it's fun. You know, I have this conversation a lot too. Like Pilates is fun. You'll get a strong core, but you're not going to grow muscle from Pilates. Like
Yeah.
the only way to grow muscle after the first year of training is to lift some heavy weights. And
Mm.
even if you tried to get too big and too bulky, you probably couldn't.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. My partner, completely natural. We'll go to a gym here in Dubai, and 90% of the women are probably bigger and stronger than me, right? So I'm going in there and I'm thinking, well, what is going on? And she'll come home after a workout and she's like, babe, I'm not big and strong enough. Like these women just have so much more muscle than me. And I'm like, I feel like I'm a beginner here. And you're completely right. To get to a serious level of questionable steroid use, you got to be taking quite a bit of steroids to do that. And for the people that are worrying about getting too big, those, just by the way they frame the question, we can kind of know they haven't even started.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Because
Yeah.
as soon as you start training for a few years, you're like, oh, I'm not even close to getting too big.
Yeah.
If here's the thing, my wife, Chloe, she's probably the most toned, you know, curvy woman ever. And she's been lifting heavy, as heavy as she physically can for the last 10 years straight. And she was, I'm not sure if you know, she was once seventh in the world at jet ski racing. She's literally been a top athlete on the planet. So like serious training, everything's dialed in, lifting heavy for over 10 years. And it's like, and she's not too bulky.
Yeah.
No?
Exactly. So, with people trying to figure out like the right volume in terms of how much exercise sets should I be doing in the gym when it comes to strength training, like what's the happy medium with that? Like what's too much? What's too little? What does the science say?
It's my current favorite question. And I argue a lot about it in my comments section on Instagram. So because there's two camps to this question. There's because the research is kind of divided. We have the first camp that's you take a lot of the exercise science research at face value. There's a lot of studies that show the more volume you do, the more muscle you grow. However, there's some issues with those that we'll dive into in a second. But then there's the other side of the industry that's like, hey, you should do the bare minimum. You should do tiny little bit. The short answer to this question is the amount of volume that you should do is as much as you can recover from. But if you're training right, what you can recover from actually isn't a whole lot, you know? So there's a lot of studies that show just more volume equals more growth. You know, these 20, 30, 40 sets per muscle group just equals more growth. But the problem with these studies is almost all of them are done on single muscle groups. So just training your quads or just training your glutes, for example. It's like you do 40 sets of glutes and nothing else. You know, that's what these studies are doing. But you, probably everybody listening to this, they don't just train one body part per week. They train their entire bodies. So there's a level of fatigue that comes with that. So that the point of training is to get as much stimulus as possible with as little fatigue cost as possible. Because if you're training hard, there is going to be a little bit of damage and a little bit of fatigue that comes with it. Right? That's just a consequence of hard training. Now, that's not the point of training, but we're trying to get as much stimulus as possible with as little fatigue as possible. You know, we're trying to keep it like that. All right. The big thing when we do more and more sets is there seems to be, when we look at the research, a really cool meta-analysis came out recently from Schoenfeld and his colleagues of 295 studies. And pretty much what they found is that when you look at a single workout, there's not much more point doing more than 5 sets per muscle. After that, there's not much more in terms of anabolism, like much more muscle growth you get from that. But fatigue just continues to compound, and fatigue will just continue to compound forever. So those first 5 sets that you're getting in a workout are giving you all of the growth you're going to get. And if you do anything more than that, you're just kind of giving your body more to recover from. And remember, your body has to recover from all of the damage and all of the fatigue first before it can even start to grow. So 5 per muscle is kind of the average when you look at a population basis. Some people respond a little bit more, some people respond a little bit less. There's genetic factors come into play there as well. But as the big mistake I see a lot of people doing, and especially a lot of females doing in the gym, is they might go in and train legs for 2 hours. And it's like they do hip thrusts, and then they do squats, and then they do kickbacks, and then they do abductors, and then adductors. And then end up doing almost 5, either directly or indirectly, 5 exercises just for their glutes. And that's 3 sets of each exercise. So that's what, 15 sets for their glutes in a single workout. Remember, those first 5 are giving you all of the growth, and now you're just giving your body 10 more sets to recover from. So the biggest mistake I see a lot of people doing in terms of volume is most people do too much, right? Because they're just giving themselves more stuff to recover from. All right. So when we look at how much volume we should do per week, it's a little bit more of a difficult question because frequency comes into play here. But per workout, the kind of upper limit is probably 5, maybe 6 max working sets per muscle in a single workout. So what that might look like, for example, a leg day, you might have 2 exercises for your quads, about 2 sets of each, 2 exercises for your hamstrings, 2 sets of each. And then there's going to be some carryover with your glutes. So we might just hit 1 direct glute workout or glute exercise, and then maybe more if you feel like you want to specialize on it.
That's very interesting. For someone that is going to the gym for the first time, or probably going to boot camps or doing their F45, when they come to strength training, when you're telling them, okay, do less, how are they supposed to go from 100 sets in a 45-minute hit session to, like you mentioned, like probably 10 to 12 sets really from what you just mentioned in a day? Like it's almost set up for failure, because if they don't have a coach to put them into a strength training mindset, they're just going to be lifting weak ass weight for that little volume, and like they're not going to see any growth. So how do you navigate between someone that doesn't have a coach who wants to learn these protocols, but they don't know what intensity looks like either?
Yeah, that's the hardest thing, because there's kind of a hierarchy to this. It's like when you first start training into the gym, don't even worry about intensity right now. The first thing we need to dial in is your range, like your technique. And your technique is probably good. Everyone can do a squat because everybody sits down on a chair, but it's more about optimizing your technique, coming all the way down really deep, as deep as you can into that squat, pausing down the bottom in that deep stretch, explosive on the way up, like really making sure your technique is good. And once you have that, then we can start working on your intensity, But yeah, you're right. People coming from the group training, the F45s, that kind of stuff, it's the complete opposite, right? You're doing little weight for so many reps and so many sets and just continuously for 45 minutes with no rest in between. Whereas smart training is literally the complete opposite. It's like, if you're going to lift heavy, all right, you're only going to be doing it for 10 reps, maybe max 10 reps. And then you're going to sit down and you're going to catch your breath for 2 or 3 minutes. And you're just going to kick your feet up. All right. But that is, trust me, if you do like a heavy set of squats, 3 minutes feels like 30 seconds, and then you have to go again. But it's the complete opposite.
Like you talked about form and technique. So form and technique, I completely agree. When you first go into the gym, you should have a program. Like going in there without a program, that's when gym anxiety kicks in. Gym anxiety doesn't happen because people are looking at you. It's because you don't have a plan. You can't focus on 2 things at once. I don't care if you're a female or a male. You cannot. And if you do, you're probably not performing at your best. So definitely need a plan. Then the first thing is I would argue that it's not the plan, it's the person that shows up to the plan. So even if you go completely wrong, you don't have a progressively overloaded program, you have 30, 50 sets, you have 5 sets, it's who shows up at the end of the day. I mean, like you're talking science backed research, which is optimized, optimal everything. A lot of people just need to get off the couch and just get to the gym and like start day one, right? So I want to make sure that everyone who's listening to this, not only are the ones that are in the gym not seeing results, but the ones that are not in the gym and trying to get in. So firstly, plan, we both agree, form and technique second, and then over time you should see results. And then when you hit a plateau, that's when you got to start thinking about, well, was this plan really optimized? Well, what did we learn? We learned that you can show up. We learned that you're consistent. We learned that it's not an adherence compliance problem. It's a optimal problem, right? So what comes first, like optimization of one's programming or adherence to one's programming? Like, how do you balance the both?
Yeah, it's that hierarchy, like we said before. We can we can write you up the best program you've ever seen in your life, but if you don't actually do them, then there's no point. And this is the problem that there's a little barrier that stops a lot of people from getting in the gym in the first place, is because they think they need to go 5, 6, 7 times a week, you know? And it's just like full transparency. Right now I'm training 4 times a week. I'm
Me
trying
too.
to run a company. I've got a daughter. Like I'm trying to raise a baby as well. Like it gets busy. So 4 times a week is my sweet spot. But it's not about, it's not about training every day. It's not even about training 5 times a week. You can get 90% of all the growth and all the progress you will ever get training is like 3 times a week, for example. So it's people overestimate how big of a demand it is. It's because when they're sitting on the couch and they're like, I need to go to gym, and they're like, oh, you know, this what I actually need to do in their mind is train 5 days a week and then track every bit of my food and then do that for the next 5 years. And now that becomes the big goal. Actually, just getting in the car and going to the gym the isn't what holds people back. It's the investment that they think they need to make. And it's not that big. Even when we look at the research, when we look at the Schoenfield matter that we were talking about before, quote from the author, the primary predictor of growth is just training hard. So if you train 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, doesn't matter if you just train hard. If you do, like we said before, if you do 5, 6 exercises for the same muscle group in a single workout, it's not the best. But if you're training hard, you're still going to get growth from it. People kind of make progress a big scary thing in their mind when it's really it's simple and it's not intimidating at all if you've got a plan. That's the thing, because like we said before, gym anxiety comes from, it's not from people looking at you, like you said. It's when they get to the gym and then they internally, you don't know what you're doing, and then you're looking around and you're like, oh my god, everybody's looking at me. They're not. It's just that in your head, because you feel out of place, then you feel like everybody's looking at you, and that's when the anxiety comes from. Which, like we said, if you just have a plan and you just look down at your phone and it's telling you, go to this exercise, it just removes 80% of that.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say someone's in the gym, someone's working out, they're seeing great results. It's their first phase of any fat loss program. If you go to Harry's Instagram, like he'll talk about mini cuts, right? Let's say someone's on a mini cut and then boom, they hit a plateau. Like nothing's changing. Like, do we either one, change the routine, or do we address the plateau and see how we can optimize what we already have? Like, how do you navigate a discussion like that if for a client?
Here's the thing I always say. It's not a matter of if you hit a plateau, it's just a matter of when. It's super normal. Like your body does not like that you're in a deficit. So from like a survival, your body doesn't know that you're doing a 12-week fat loss phase because it's the start of the year. It's your New Year's goal. Your body doesn't know that. All it knows is that you are not eating enough, and if you keep doing that, you'll die. And it generally doesn't want to die, I've heard. So when you eat in a deficit, your body, there's so many different things where your body's trying to slow you down and stop you from burning as many calories. And it's not your metabolism. Oh my God, I could spend 30 minutes talking about this. Your metabolism doesn't change. The max it might go down is maybe 100 max calories, and that's just because when you lose visceral fat around your organs, there's just less pressure on your organs. They physically get smaller, so they burn less calories just to function. Like your metabolism doesn't really change. No one's got a slow metabolism, all right? No, all that happens is, well, there's a lot that happens. When you start losing weight, your body tries to work against you. A few things like your non-exercise activity thermogenesis drops. This is just movement throughout the day. So cleaning the house, walking, even how quickly you speak. You can tell I'm bulking right now because I'm just going like that. When I'm in a fat loss phase, it gets slow. Little things like that. Glycogen levels in your muscles and your liver a little bit lower, so your training performance isn't as high. You don't burn as many calories when you train. Your leptin levels, like your hormones, come down, which means hunger comes up as well. So you're lethargic, you're low energy, and you're hungry as well. It makes it really, your body tries to make it really difficult for you to keep losing fat, pretty much. So there's three things that we can do. One is, the first step is just move more. If you're doing 8,000 steps in a day, if you're tracking your steps, just do 10,000, increase it by 2,000. Or if you're doing 15 minutes of cardio on the treadmill, do 30 minutes. That's a great way to do it. If you do that and you kind of reach a point where I can't do any more steps in a day, right? Every spare minute of my day, I'm just walking. If you reach a point where you can't, like most people, office job, people in office work, like there's only so many hours that you can allocate to movement when you're sitting at a desk. So if you can't add any more steps, then the goal is to drop calories a little bit. Maybe drop 200 calories. All right, hold that, test that for a few weeks. If your weight starts dropping, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, go again. But you can only go so far down, right? And once you come down so far with your calories where your body's really working against you, like if there is any female right now eating 1,200 calories, that's you. You're going too low, right? For 90% of females, maybe there's a 1% that's like 4'5". Maybe there's still some hobbits coming around. They haven't gone extinct yet. Maybe 1,200 calories for you. But if you're listening to this, 99% chance that you probably need to eat more. And the third step, if you move more and you're eating less and you're still not losing weight, then we need to do a maintenance phase. And this is more of a mental battle for most people and a lot of females that I train. We need to bring your calories up as high as we can without gaining fat. 2,000, 2,500. We've got one client, Cara. She's eating 3,000 calories a day as a female, and she's like 5'1", right? So we need to do that for a week, maybe 2 weeks, because then we recover. We bring your hormones back up. We refill your glycogen levels, where did I say hormones? Yeah, I did. Your hormones come back up, your glycogen levels replenish, your energy levels come back up, you're motivated again, and then you can go back down into another fat loss phase. But the biggest problem people have is they try to do 1,200 calories for 3, 6, 12 months straight. That's why their weight won't move.
Yeah.
Your body is winning that fight. You only win that fat loss game for so long.
Yeah, it's a problem. I was talking to a new client of mine who just joined this week, and her previous coach got her down to like 1,200 calories, right? And I'm like, okay, how tall are you? Okay, 5'2". How much you weigh? Okay, cool. 160. And how much do you want to lose? 25 pounds. It's been 6 months. You lost 4 pounds, and you're eating this much, and you're training 5-6 times a week. I'm seeing red flags, red flags, red flags. So I'm trying to like probe a bit more. And then she's like, my coach is also competing. Like, I'm like, cool. Do you want to be a competitor? And I'm like, and she's like, no, I don't want to compete. I'm like, your coach is talking through a lens that she looks in the mirror with. So she's mirroring her current experience. And to me, that's inexperience. That's not customization. That's one size fits all.
That's not a coach. This is what I'm doing, so you're doing it too.
Yeah.
Like that's not coaching. That's I have no idea what that's called.
Yeah,
mirroring, like you said.
When someone joins our program, the first thing I look at is, okay, let's see what you're currently eating. And if you do know, amazing. So I had another girl, Tatiana. She started 800 calories. She was a cardio bunny, classic example of someone trying to run off body fat. So nothing was working at all for years. And then she came across me, and we started doing some strength training. She started getting a bit weird, like, you want me eating 1,500 calories? I'm at 900 now. You want me eating carbs? Oh, I don't eat carbs. You want me doing like 4 exercises of strength training, 4 training sessions of strength training? This is all like a different language to her. We've like doubled her calories since she joined, but I didn't get her on 1,500 calories straight away. She was at 800. I got her to 1,000 the next day. Why? Because a lot of people think, okay, blank canvas, these are the biometrics, these are the numbers, but they fail to understand that there's a human on the other side that doesn't know what's going on. So we have to like see where you're at and find out what the next step is. We want to reverse engineer the outcome by understanding what's the first step is. So I love that we got to like explore all paths to victory, but also to understand that every person's an individual. Now, I do want to ask you, I get this question so many freaking times. And no matter how many times I answer it, it comes up. And I just think some people don't believe it's right. So the common question I get is, what's the fastest way to lose belly fat?
The best question. So unfortunately, we can't target where fat loss comes from.
Oh, you're going to do that to us. You're going to let everyone down.
Yeah, look, I wish that'd be great. Like
But I just want to lose my fupa. I just want to lose the belly fat. Just tell me what surgery I need to do. Tell me what pill I need to take. Give me the right answer.
yeah, no, that's a wish. Like the world would be a better place if you did crunches and you could lose fat around your core. Like it would be great. But yeah, the unfortunate answer is just you can't target where you lose fat to any meaningful degree. You can target upper and lower, as it turns out, but that's about it. But the goal is just to lose fat, and the reason most people have that stubborn belly fat, it's not actually stubborn. You just have more there than you think. So let's say you lose a kilogram of fat, or do you guys work in pounds or in kilograms?
It depends on the individual. So if it's American, it's pounds. Australian, it will be kilograms, and Canadian kilograms. So.
All right, we'll do kilograms because I can't count past 10. So with say you lose 1 kilogram, you might lose 200 grams from your arms, 200 grams from your legs, 200 grams from your stomach, for example. You just have more fat in total around your fupa, for example. So your arms are going to eventually get really lean, and your shoulders going to get nice and defined, and you're going to see some nice defined legs, but you're still going to have that fat around your like midsection or lower back because there's just simply more there. That's it. So it's just that it's not stubborn by any means. You just kind of need to keep going, and you're going to there's going to be some areas that are much more lean than the other because they just have less fat total there. But yeah, the world would be a much better place if we could target where fat comes from. That'd be great.
I agree. If you're trying to slim your waist, whether you're a man or a female, I mean, target the areas that are going to illustrate the hourglass or illustrate that Dorito body. Like for guys, focus on your back. Stop doing arms. For women, focus on building your glutes, focus on toning your legs, focus on getting stronger. Because what's funny is it's not the fucking exercise. It's the fact that you're being consistent, you're progressing, and you're coming back and you want more. People will always follow results. People lose motivation, I would argue, not because it's confusing out there, but because they're not seeing results. So if you see the results, you'll progress, you'll feel good, you create a dopamine cycle in your head saying, oh, I want more, I'm going to keep going.
Exactly.
Yeah, same thing as going out when you're 21. For a guy, it's like going to the clubs. How many numbers can I get? When I'm going to come home? Like it's the same thing. And I stopped doing that, and I'm like, let me go to the gym and like gamify working out. Okay, get out of the clubs and do that at the gym. If you can do that and create a reward system, a great book is Atomic Habits. You create a reward system for you to keep coming back and back and back and back, provided that you have a good plan, provided that you might have a good coach. I mean, you're going to put yourself in a game where it's impossible to lose. And that's the real question here. How can we play a game where it's impossible to lose? I mean, stop focusing on your fucking belly fat. That's number one, right?
Yeah, but like you said before, what's real? I love being like, oh, I'm just not motivated. I struggle to find the motivation. You know what's really motivating? Every time you step on the scale, it's lighter, and your weight comes off. That's pretty motivating. Every time you go into the gym and you lift heavier and you hit a PB, it's like that's pretty fucking motivating. The reason you're not motivated is because you're putting in effort and you're not seeing the results for it. Like that's why you're not motivated. Everybody can stay, and that's why I like mini cuts, because we just get it done 5 weeks, a little bit more aggressive, but then you get a week or two break where you're doing a maintenance phase, you're enjoying some food, all the foods that you want to have, you can enjoy it. So everybody can stay motivated if it's only for 5 weeks.
Let's describe that for our listeners. What is a mini cut?
It's a great question, Patty. So mini cut pretty much is where we go a little bit more aggressive, but for a short period of time. And the reason being, like we said before, is all of the negative side effects of dieting, your glycogen levels depleting, your energy dropping, N.E.A.T dropping, hormones dropping, all of these things take a little bit of time. So when we're up here with our food, right? And then we drop it down a little bit more than you would with a sustainable approach. It takes a while, right, for your body to come all the way back down here. It takes a while for your body to adapt to glycogen to deplete, your energy to drop. So everybody's done a fat loss phase, and then those first 5 weeks, right? It's just easy. Weight's coming off, life's good. You're like, I'm not even hungry. This is great. And then that, 6 week, 7 week, 8 week, it's like, I'm hungry, I'm tired, this sucks. Pretty much what a mini cut is we just do that first 5 weeks over and over again. So we go 5 weeks, we get the fat off as quickly as we can. And then as soon as it starts getting difficult, as soon as you get tired, you get low energy, these kind of things, we do a maintenance phase. We bring your food all the way up, over 2,000 calories where you're eating, you're enjoying life. We do that for a week or two. Let your body recover, let your hormones come back up, let your energy come back up. And then when you're mentally ready, you're physically and mentally ready to go, you're like, let's do this, let's go again. We drop into another mini cut.
In my 20s, I did a lot of like mindset studying because I didn't really have a father figure. I don't want to go into this, but I needed to learn how my brain worked. So we got the conscious brain, we got the subconscious brain. And one thing I learned from our mentor, Brian, is like our subconscious brain doesn't move into pain. So we might think, okay, why am I not getting said outcome? Well, in the back of your mind, you know that what you're doing is there's no green at the end. There's no outcome at the end. There's no fairyland at the end. There's no destination. So when you do a cut and it's a cut forever, you're just going to resent that. You're going to overeat on the weekend. So the whole thing about a mini cut is we're doing it for a few weeks and we're coming back to maintenance. So you're going to go hard all out for 4 weeks. I mean, some of the best results I've gotten especially when I was single, I would have a holiday with the boys and we're going to go to a vacation or we're going to be on a ship. And we had like 12 weeks to train like madmen. And we didn't really need protocols. We just needed like high volume, high intensity, and a whole bunch of ego. And what I found is a lot of women training them for their weddings, I love, because they only have one photo, hopefully, hopefully, and one wedding dress, hopefully, and it's their whole outcome. And they know they're going to see these photos forever. So there's not a question of, will I follow the program? And what that allows them to do is like focus on that short mini goal to obviously get results. And like we said, motivation comes from results. Now,
yeah, because it's a double-edged sword, a good double-edged sword, because it's a short period of time. So you're not thinking about, I'm doing this for the next 6 months. You're saying in 4 weeks, I get to eat whatever I want within reason. So in 4 weeks, I get a break from this. So that's motivating. And also every time you step on the scale, you're losing weight because you're going a little bit faster. So it's double motivating. Yeah, the best, And it fixes the fallacy as well. A lot of people don't want to go aggressive because they think they're going to put their weight back on right afterwards. But there's nothing mechanistically from like a biology standpoint why you would just put the weight back on. There's nothing going on. Unless you're 5% body fat and you're stepping on stage, your body, when you're stripped to the bone and your body doesn't even have enough fat for normal bodily functions, it will preferentially put on fat just so you don't die. But unless you're a bodybuilder, that doesn't apply to you. There's no reason your body would just put on fat afterwards. The reason you put on fat afterwards is because you just spent 6 months eating nothing like dirt and grains. And you're just like, I cannot wait to destroy Krispy Kremes on the way home as soon as this is finished. And then you just go back into the same habits. You just eat, you go into this binge mindset. All the foods that you wanted to eat for the last 6 months, you go and eat it. And that's where the weight comes from.
I had that happen to me. I competed and then I made a plan before I jumped on the stage to take all my friends and go on a food binge eating spree. And I wanted to record it. I like was fantasizing about it. Like I was cheating on someone. Like I just like, what are some ways I could completely destroy my body in? Like I destroyed my body for the last 8 weeks. I was telling myself these crazy stories, and it would just have to be my hormones just being all over the place, to be honest. I can't imagine a female going through this. And we always hear some like scary stories of women that haven't had their period in years because of like the bodybuilding competition that completely ruined everything. And it's sad out there. So always, like, more than anything, look for a plan that has sustainability. Now, you mentioned your partner, Chloe, who I've met as well. When it comes to you guys, do you notice a difference when it comes to results, like doing cardio or no cardio and like losing the extra fat? Let's say you have a compliant client, they're hitting they're hitting their training, they're following their macros, they're seeing results, and they're like, I want cardio. How do you know when to add cardio into someone's program?
The number one cardio that we always use is just steps. That's the most. So when you look at, because you could do an hour of cardio in the morning and then you just sit on the couch for the rest of the day, you're not actually burning a whole ton of calories when you look at a whole day perspective. The only way to kind of, or at least the gold standard to guarantee that you're actually burning a ton of calories and you're actually, active throughout the day is your steps. So we just set, the biggest thing we do is set step targets. If you don't have a watch that tracks your steps, you can do like, hey, 15 minutes on the treadmill or on the bike or something like that. It's just that we can't account for the rest of the day. And like we said, when you start losing fat and you start dropping your calories, your body tries to put you on the couch. Your body's just like, sit down, eat potato chips. I'll make you hungry. I'll give you those cravings in order to make you stop this diet. So steps are just the best way to predictably and to guarantee that we're losing fat day to day. So step target, everybody's heard it. The gold standard's like 10,000 steps. That's just a really good number to be, really good number to target. But it's just that the more steps you do, the more calories you're going to burn and the more fat you're going to lose. Up until a certain point, which is like 20,000 steps. And after that, you might start getting diminishing returns. But it's like, I don't do 20,000 steps. I'm not even close.
Yeah, we had a step challenge in our community. It kind of got ridiculous. So many people competing. I had one woman do 50,000, and then I'm like, I've never done 50,000. I want to do 50,000, so I did 50,000. Another woman did 50,000. Another person did 50,000, and the first woman did that 50,000. She's like, fuck that. No one's taking my record. I'm doing 75,000. So I'm like, what? And the next day, she's like, yeah, Pat, I did 75,000. She showed me the receipts, right? I'm like, whoa. What time did you start? She's like, I started at 3 a.m. What time did you finish? Like, 10:30 at night. I'm like, how do I beat that? So I'm like, I don't know if I can. I'm like, I don't know if I can beat that. I don't know if I can beat that, but I'll do the 75. So I did the 75,000. So I'm like, I don't want to wake up at 1. So what I'll do, I'll wake up at 4. I'll start my day at 4, get a good night's sleep. So I did 4,000. I did 4 in the morning. I went all the way till like, oh, fuck, it was bad, man. I listened to about 8 podcasts on that day. So I got up to 75,000 steps, 8 podcasts. My feet were bad, man. I had the bitch voice going on 24/7. I'm like, how is a client of mine who's like more overweight than I am doing 75,000 steps and I'm complaining this whole time? Is crazy. I'm like, this is diminishing returns. Even at 20,000, it was diminishing returns. Anyway, the next day she saw me do a 75,000, and 2 weeks later she did 100,000 steps in a day.
In a single day.
Yeah, 100,000.
I have never done that in a week.
Yeah, 100,000 is ridiculous. I've hiked Mount Fuji. I've hiked Mount Doom. I've done some pretty crazy experiences, and the most is like 30,000 because you don't just walk that much. You take breaks, you sit, you eat. But if you're hitting a target, it's crazy. But that's besides the point. The average American, Canadian, and Australian averaging between 3,000 to 4,500 steps a day. It will get worse, especially with fucking Elon Musk's robots coming out. Like, it's only going to get worse. So the first thing we do as well, I'm glad that you mentioned it, is program our clients as steps as their cardio. So it's the easiest way to get it. It's the most simple way to get it. And it's the most measurable way. So I completely agree.
Yeah, you know what? Another really good one to
Yeah.
burn a ton of calories. Cleaning the house burns a ton of calories. Another hot tip for young players: just choose one room in the house to do a deep clean every day. Spend 30 minutes cleaning and scrubbing. Like, that burns a ton of calories.
Yeah, Lane Norton talks about N.E.A.T being like one of the gold standards of like the extra fat loss, and like just tapping your fingers, being fidgety. You ever, like, he mentions like, if you ever meet someone who's really fidgety all the time, like they're probably thin. I'm like, oh, I never really thought about it like that.
That's neat. Yeah. Like, NEAT just stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So it's just like all the movement that you do outside of the gym. it's like fidgeting under the desk, tapping, cleaning, walking. If you're on the phone, walking around, and that's when you lose fat. They're the first things to go. You don't fidget under the desk anymore. You sit down when you talk on the phone. These kind of things. Just to add on our point before. But yeah, when Elon Musk robot's coming out, I'm not cleaning ever.
Dude, I'm so excited to get my first robot. I told Joe when we were watching the YouTube launch of the robots, the cars, all that stuff. I'm like, we will be first in line for that $30,000 robot. I cannot wait.
Bro, Australia is so behind. We went to San Francisco and every city in America, and there's cars that just drive themselves. There's like taxis, robot taxis that just drive themselves.
We're going to get worse, bro. 45% of Americans are overweight. By the end of 2030, it'll be 65%. And I would argue it would get worse and worse and worse and worse. So if you're looking to become a fitness coach, now's the time, because there's going to be a lot of demand the next 10, 15 years.
Actually, if you want to get political, right, it's because a lot of people, they go to general practitioners and then doctors, and they're like, hey, I've got this heart issue. And the heart issue is from being chronically overweight or obese. And the solution is like, here's blood pressure medication because there's rebates for medication. There's not rebates for like, see Patty, he is the man. He's helped over 1,000 women lose 10 kilograms. It's like, here's Patty, and then he's going to hook you up because there's no incentive for that. It's kind of a rough system.
I saw my mom go through it. So my mom, when she started getting unwell, I'm like, come join my gym. I don't know. I was 24. I was a bit cocky. I'm like, Mom, you have to pay. She's like, what do you mean I have to pay? I was half jokingly. And because she never gave me pocket money. So she trained me up. And we're Chinese,
she deserved it.
She deserved it. Yeah. She never gave me pocket money ever. So I'm like, Mom, yeah, if you come, you have to pay at least 75%. It's only $25 a week anyway. So she's like, no, my doctor said I have free reports with a physiotherapist. And I'm like, what the fuck, Mom? Like, literally, my charges are so cheap. You get 6 classes for $25. What are you talking about? She's like, yeah, but I get it free with my doctor because I get a rebate. And I'm like, oh my God, if you think like this in your generation, I can't imagine all my aunties, my uncles, my cousins. And that was crazy because, like, I was telling you before the podcast started, that my mom contracted lupus. And the way it happened, which is crazy because I didn't know lupus was a big deal because my uncle passed from lupus, but I never saw him. My great grandfather passed from lupus, but I never saw him. So I didn't really think it was like a generational curse, right? And a lot of people in my network throw around the term generational curse, and I'm like, it's a kind of buzzword. But I would say 5 years ago, I decided to like make that a thing, like make that a part of my calling, my purpose, my curiosity, if you will. So my mom was kind of depressed for a while. At least I thought. She was working in a frozen room. She was pickpacking for Kraft, actually, Kraft in Australia. So she was pickpacking, and it was really tough because she wanted to work because she's always been independent. She didn't need the money. But every time she came home from work, she used to complain, my shoulder, my shoulder, my shoulder. I'm like, Mom, you don't need to work. It's like, I have to. I need the money. I'm like, what's going on? So anyway, she needed a cortisone shot because she couldn't work anymore. So she retired from work. She got a cortisone shot, and I saw her body deteriorate for 6 months. And I remember seeing my mum just being a shell of herself. She was like watching daytime TV 6 hours a day. And I'm a personal trainer who has no clients during the day, so I have to see my mum witness this. And I'm like, Mum, you raised 4 boys. You're the strongest woman I know. And I feel like you're the shell of yourself. Like, what's going on? And she's saying, I don't know. So me and my brothers decided to push her to book a holiday with her sisters. So I got all my aunties involved, and we're talking. I'm like, hey, our mum needs a holiday. She's depressed. She's going through a midlife crisis. It must be. And she was so reluctant to the idea, Harry. She really wanted to just like stay home and watch TV. She was so comfortable. But she was getting old. You know how when people get older, their spine shrinks, it deteriorates because their posture's bad, blah, blah, blah. I saw her get shorter and shorter, literally through the years. And her confidence wasn't there. Her just prowess wasn't there anymore. This lady that had such power in our household just wasn't there anymore. I couldn't understand it. So anyway, the day before she was about to board a plane to Malaysia with her sisters, she was packing her bags and she looked at me. She looks up. She's like, I don't want to go. I'm like, you have to go. You have to go. You're almost there. Pack the bag. Let's go. Let's fucking go. Once you're at the airport, you're fine. She's like, I can't go. So anyway, the next day she gets to the airport. Me and my brothers are around, like looking at each other. I'm like, she's gonna go. Yes. No more depressed mum in the house. And my auntie calls. It's like, your mum got rushed to the ER room. I look at my brother. I'm like, this is a fucking joke. What is going on? And my brother's like, I don't know, but we had to go to the ER room right now. So we went to the hospital. I looked at her. She's like unconscious, half conscious. Hey, I'm like, the doctor's like, what's happened? She's like, oh, she hit her head. She had a fall. She fainted, hit her head, and she's got some bleeding. So anyway, we waited for a week and we found out she had lupus. They detected lupus. Now, I remember her going through this depression mode for 6 months, and the doctors failed to diagnose her with lupus until she had this accident. And the crazy thing was that for 2 years straight, I was taking her in and out of the hospital, taking her to heavy doses of medication, seeing her medical bills pile all the way up to like thousands of dollars every month. And she lost her hair. She gained 20 kilograms. She started growing facial hair. She lost all her femininity. And I was having a nervous breakdown. It was crazy. And then I remember being so controlling. Like, I'm trying to like fix this issue because I'm about to lose my mom. It's like the more I'm losing her, the more I need to like keep her alive. It's like a scared child. I just really remember just praying to God. I'm like, I have to let this go because my mental health is at all-time low. I'm not going to the gym. I'm putting on weight. So I let it go. 6 months later, I saw her at a park. I saw her walking. I started running up to her. I'm like, Mum, slow down. And she looks at me. She's like, whatever. She starts walking faster. And I'm like, Mum, what the fuck? She's like, what do you want? I'm getting my 10,000 steps. That was the day I realized how strong my mum was. She told me she's off 90% of the medication. She walked her way to being healthy. Throughout Melbourne winter, which for those that don't know is one of the crucial, most devastating winters you can be a part of in this world. It's like hot during the day, freezing at night, and it's 5 weathers in one day. So I wanted to tell this story because I believe that if you really, really want it, you can just start as simple as walking and you could cure most illnesses you have.
I love it. And from a fat loss perspective as well, tying it back in to like the clients, walking walking is probably responsible for a good chunk when you look at the activity side of thing of fat loss. You know, just go walk. Even if you're like, let's go back to that lady who's on the couch right now listening to this, and she's like, the gym is scary. The gym it gives me anxiety. I don't want to go. Like, don't want to do that. Just go for a walk. That's going to be your first 5 kilograms of fat loss right there.
Exactly. Well, Harry, thank you so much for joining the Newbie Gains podcast. This won't be the last time. I can't wait to do round 2. I know I'll be speaking to Chloe as well. But yeah, we've inspired a lot of people today. So I appreciate you for joining on.
I hope so. It is an absolute honor to be in any room that you are in, my friend.